I'm excited about the second segment. And the second segment, we like to talk to CEOs. And we have got another CEO here who's a veteran of a couple startups that's got a lot that he can share. And it's a very interesting fintech company that I think those of you who have done shopping online or have attempted to find deals and you have to go so many places, they make that so easy. And so here with us is Harry Dickson, who's one of the co-founders of Checkmate. And he's also the CEO. There he is. Hey, welcome. Thank you for being here on the Biz Doc Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, it's I'll say a little bit. That way you don't have to do that part for yourself. But Checkmate, a smart shopping solution that gathers e-commerce data and helps customers save money. How? Well, by being a sort of a clearinghouse and a dashboard, kind of an extension on your Safari browser, so that you can go out and find coupons, discount codes, or other things that are available, because the vendors have those out there because they want you to buy their stuff. And they've got a promotion, or they're in the middle of a rollout campaign for some, apparel, and they're offering the sale to get you to check it out and to try it. Well, guess what? Checkmate brings that together so you can find those discount codes and those coupons, take advantage of it, and get the best deal. And then best of all, they keep a little library for you along with reward points. That's Checkmate, and we have Harry Dickson here to talk about that and more. Welcome.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, really appreciate it. I guess to add to that, I feel like we want to be ultimately a personalized destination. And so for Checkmate, that's really where we see aggregation as the starting point, and then really applying all that value as you shop via an extension, which is very new to mobile. And we're really excited to have launched and now have hundreds of thousands of Americans and Australians, which is where my accent's from, shop with us. So it's been going well.
Yeah, awesome. And your co-founders, Rory Garton-Smith and Elliot Rampono, don't want to leave them out, but thank you for being here as a CEO. And what is up right now? Because all startups go through all the phases. What has just happened now? Congratulations on the recent financing, and what is hot and next that you could tell people about who follow it or who should follow it and go add it to their Safari browser and take advantage of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. I appreciate the congratulations on the funding. Excited to have Google Ventures join us for our Series A, which is fantastic. But we don't talk about it actually that much. But we were fortunate to hit #1 in the App Store late last year, early this year, which was a bit of a wild ride. Given the audience is mostly entrepreneurs, we were 5 people as a startup, and we onboarded over 250,000 users in less than a month, which for anyone trying to deal with APIs and things like that, it was a lot. So, excited that we're in the next phase of Checkmate, where we have some resources to expand the team and continue to bring a great shopping product. So that's what's happening in our world.
Oh, fantastic. So stepping back, this is not your first rodeo, so tell us a little bit about your background. We have the Vault conference coming up at the end of August. We're going to bring together 3,000 entrepreneurs from 42 countries. These are entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs that maybe are inside companies that are funding projects, as well as leaders from all manner of things, COOs that are part of a family business that are coming here, and they all want to know the same thing. How do I do this? And am I crazy? I'm feeling these things. Am I crazy? And so one of the things I like to ask, especially someone like yourself who's been what we would now call a serial entrepreneur, is what were you doing before this one? And then what was the spark that let you to get together with Rory and Elliot and create Checkmate? So let's start with where you were.
Yeah, happy to explain my background, I guess, for the entrepreneurs in the room. I feel like I've gone up and down the stack from starting my career working for Trimble or Frank Gehry, the architect, at a Fortune 100 company. Realized that wasn't for me, and so as mentioned, I've joined a couple of startups, both earlier stage and a bit later. So I was the first business hire at Skyrise, which is an autonomous helicopter company that we're launching an end-to-end air shuttle route. We started in LA, launched multiple air shuttle routes, hired 70 people. It was pretty insane. Ultimately, the business decided not to continue with the consumer service. They're still building autonomous systems. But that led me to my e-commerce background and career at a company called EasyPost, a multi-carrier shipping API. I started in strategy, and ultimately when COVID kicked in, if you're not building product or you're not selling, you're replaceable. And so moved over to the partnership side and ended up leaving as director of partnerships there, where I mostly focused on infrastructure. And so infrastructure in a multi-carrier API, which means that if you're a business like a Warby Parker or a Walmart and you need to send something to a consumer, you get to normally choose your shipping option, either 1 day, 2 days, or whatever you want to choose. They need to ask the carrier, like a FedEx or USPS, to do that. So the infrastructure side is built around like Shopify, Magento, WMS management software. So I spent a lot of time in the e-com infrastructure space. And so when I was starting to think about Checkmate, and I had a lot of observations around the macro market of, I'll call, unbundling of e-commerce, which I can explain a little bit. But my partnership skills ultimately combined with Rory and Elliot's software engineering skills. Rory was at Apple, Elliot was at Data Robot. It seemed to be a match made in heaven, both on culture, but on really the kind of complementary skills. So that's really the inception, and happy to explain on some of the observations if that's helpful, Tom.
Well, what's very interesting about that is most of the entrepreneurs that I've mentored or that I've met come from one of two areas. Actually, I would say about 90% come from one of two areas: product or business development. And business development, people see markets, they see a crevice in the market, they see a place to build a bridge across the crevice and make a product out of that. Or they come from the product side and they believe a certain market space could benefit from this product, so they go looking for the deployment point that's in there. But it's usually product or business development, and the business development people who are good product strategists. And I find it interesting that you said that you were working in strategy and then in partnership. So you've come right along what I would call the business development lane in your entrepreneurial journey to step out, which I think is very typical. And when I say typical, I mean that's a very interesting path, but you've earned, as we say in the military, the stripes on your shoulder and your rank of what you've built there. Now, as being the CEO, how different has it been an experience for you to being the CEO of an organization when you're really, in the early days, probably also wearing the Chief Business Development Officer hat? How have you segregated that so that you can drive the organization and get momentum? Because most entrepreneurs find out that over time, they can't be both. They can't be the CTO or the Chief Product Officer and the CEO founder, and they can't do both. Have you encountered that milestone, and how have you managed through it?
Yeah, no, it's a very typical issue. For me, I think like the product and business development side, I wouldn't call myself a product leader in the sense of the day-to-day product. I think a lot of the strategy that was learned from EasyPost was really at a macro observation level. And so, I can communicate where I see value and opportunity, but really need to rely on your business partners, which has been Rory and Elliot. And then since then, we've brought phenomenal people like Cody and Matt and a whole wide range of other people that augment those. So, shifting kind of hats, you have to have inherent trust. And so that's hard to kind of give your baby away in the sense of like product ownership, but it becomes a lot bigger than myself and Rory and Elliot even. Checkmate is not our company. It's all inclusive in our Checkmate family. And so that's definitely moved as we've grown bigger and we've hired more people. So really kind of letting the reins go and giving people earned trust has been a big shift, because it is your baby after all. So that's a big learning for me.
Unpack that a little bit. When you say giving trust, I assume you mean you've got your core team, you're treated like a family, then you were 12 people, and then you have to bring someone in some function. but you got to be able to trust them. It's not just a back end or a front end engineer. It's somebody that's got a realm of responsibility, and you're going to have to trust them. What have you learned during this phase for Checkmate about bringing those people in and then letting go a little bit? Because you're not going to accelerate any organization unless you bring in those players and you let them run.
Yeah, no, it's where I've learned and where I've shifted my management style. I wouldn't say it's micromanagement, but I think it is oversight with transparency. And so where I had to learn and adapt is, you're right, the business can't grow if I'm the bottleneck. And so a lot of decisions that were getting made at a partnership level, where is this a good partner to pursue, or what are the next steps? You really have to let the person run. And a lot of the early BD side of it, we were still learning. And so our product that we're selling, we're constantly iterating. And so having them, whoops, sorry, Siri's talking to me. And so having them really just be able to send those emails, really be able to, come back to you and just tell you the summary of like what they've learned. And I don't have to be a part of that, I think has been instrumental.
It's interesting you brought up transparency as well. I have found the hard way early on, I wasn't completely transparent. No, I didn't, when I say that, nobody lied to our employees, but sometimes we said, well, we're trying to raise capital, can't tell them this, can't tell them that just yet, don't want to scare them. But later I found that actually full transparency about what the business was going through, you would be surprised how many of them were inspired, and you could also tell who was really in and who was really out, and who maybe should be working at Apple because they're never going to go through financing rounds and the stress that brings, and sitting there on the edge of survival at times. But I found that later, my first couple rotations with it, I was less transparent because I thought I was protecting people from certain realities. Later, I found out that more transparent was better because it helped separate those who were really in and could accept that, and those who really maybe had a personality or a cultural needs, they should be in a larger, full-grown, stable organization.